Jackson gave me the news of a planet far away. And Colonel O'Neill will assemble a team that will try to save the day. Dr. Sam has a master plan and a science attitude. And the Jaffa Teal, he's part of the deal with his trusty go-out. It's just a regular day at Stargate Command, and it might be hard to understand.
Chevron 1 encoded. Chevron 2 encoded. Chevron 3 encoded. Chevron 4 encoded. Oh no, this is gonna happen. Chevron 5 encoded. Chevron 6 encoded. Chevron 7 what? We have a stable world.
Welcome back, everyone.
Woo! Welcome back.
Hello.
Hello.
I always have to remove my headphones because Aki is just like blasting my
Large and in
eardrums.
charge.
He's larger than life.
Yes.
It's like
So
he's
good.
just screaming it in my ear, like he's right next to me. I love it, but also I need to hear. Anyway, I'm your co-fry, Sarah.
I'm your co-fry, Cristina.
I'm your co-fry, Rebecca.
And today we are talking about one of my personal favorite episodes.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about season 3, episode 16, which is Urgo. But before that, we didn't forget you now. We told you we wouldn't. We promised. You sent us a message through Patreon, and we would like to read that because we did ask, we posed the question, and someone has answered. So, of course, we would love to share that.
Do we want to go into the fry box for it?
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Can we do that,
Hold on.
Rebecca? Are you
we
equipped?
definitely want to go into the fry
Are we
box.
Short, cause we're 3 fry short.
How's that for reaction time?
Love it.
on it?
Do you want to read it, Cristina?
Yeah.
Cool.
Alrighty. So Nell, you said, "Hi Fries. A couple episodes ago, you asked for stories about why someone enlisted. So I interrogated a bunch of relatives. Turns out there was a lot of different reasons. One great-grandpa enlisted in the army during World War II because he had an obviously German surname and didn't want to get labeled as a sympathizer. My grandpa knew he was going to get drafted in the Vietnam War, so he preemptively joined the National Guard to avoid getting deployed. My uncle joined the army for college tuition, but got deployed to Iraq. He left as soon as he could. And my mom joined the National Guard to play in the band and travel the world. I have lots of military relatives, and none of them joined for patriotic reasons. I was surprised by how many different reasons there were. The TV version is kind of polar. It's either shows like Stargate or NCIS, where enlisting is a sacred honor, or shows where soldiers are all bloodthirsty mercenaries. I suspect my family's motives are a lot more common than those extremes." So I found that really interesting, and I agree. I think that probably is kind of that normal space. I mean, for just whether it's touring the world or, to avoid, honestly, like, it was a smart move about avoiding the draft, being more in control. Like, I find all of that fascinating, and I am thankful for sharing, because I do think, like, the shows, it is so polarizing and it is so extremist. It's really nice to hear kind of the reality of that. So
Yeah,
I love that.
My friend Tyler, who I'm on vacation with right now, his dad joined the Air Force so that he wouldn't get drafted into like the Army or something worse during Vietnam. So
He wanted a choice. Good.
Yep.
That's like
Yep.
good for them for taking control. And
Mhm.
I do agree that sometimes in media it can be this glorified thing where it is all about like honor and glory and patriotism. Blah. And when it's like, I would like to see more real portrayals of like,
Mhm.
I'm fucking poor, man. I need to go to school. Like, I want to be a doctor. I want to go to
Mhm.
school. Like,
Mhm.
that's why. And it's kind of a shame that we don't get those stories as much.
It made me think, because I have quite a few friends that are military. My sister's military and her husband's military. But of all of that, I only have one friend who I know joined for patriotic reasons. And it was because 9/11 happened. We were seniors in high school. And that really struck a chord with one of my friends. And it was in response to that. And it was like, gonna do my part. I can save, career for later or whatever. And then like, that set his course. But that's one person, and it was in reaction to
Something.
like literally we were seniors in high school when 9/11 happened. It was that like perfect timing that I think a bulk of that group did enlist for those reasons. And then later on we'll speak for that. But other than that, I just don't hear a lot of it.
And you have to wonder too how much like kind of propaganda was being put in people's faces about like getting them to enlist. And they were probably playing into that patriotic, like, we need you to save the country and fight the evil terrorism over in the bad place. Like, I'm sure that they were really playing into that and playing that up. And
it's a healthy dose. Our military, it exists for all the positive reasons. And of course, there can be those mercenaries to the extreme, but there's so much goodness in what it does to serve and protect us. And I personally have issue when hate when it gets totally demonized, because like we can't do that. That's not fair. But it's also not like we're not always the good guys. Like we have to be really realistic about our role in that. So
I think, and I've said this before, but it's definitely like the military industrial complex where I kind of have the problem with, and not on the individual level of like an individual person joining, and like that's definitely much different. But I wonder how time will tell how we look back on that era and see, because like you look at like all the World War II, the propaganda posters of getting people to enlist, and like now they could be viewed as art in like a very like social art or something like that. So only time will tell if our kids are going to be studying like commercials from the 2000s of how that will turn out.
Be curious case study. Gosh. Anyway, but Nell, that was like an absolute fantastic response into it. And I think kind of answered what we were hoping to get an answer on. Like that it's truly for desperate times, desperate minute. We got to make ends meet. We see what's happening. I want to have a little bit of control. And no one was the same.
Or just even like one of like her mom to join the band and travel the world. Like what a wholesome reason, where it's like, I just want to get out there and see the world and play some trumpet or whatever like instrument it was.
I think that's fantastic.
I love that. Yeah.
Nell, I'd be curious what instrument your mom played in the band, or what
yes,
she did
please let us know.
Which band. They have a couple of them, so
be curious.
Different kinds. I have a friend that was in their rock band, like their folk rock band in the Army. Yeah, it's wild. I'm like, I didn't even know that was an option.
Yeah,
it's wild.
Oh, that's fantastic. All righty. Do we have anything else for Frybox, or we want to jump into Urgo?
I think we're good to jump into Urgo. I could talk for like 2 hours about the Amanda Tapping event, but I don't know if we got time in an episode for that. So
no, we need to touch on it though, because I'm sure that was like a dream for you.
But real quick, Nell says her mom played the French horn. Definitely not rock.
Well, nice.
I love it. That's awesome.
I love a French horn though.
Yeah.
Big time. Yeah.
Yes. Oh yeah, let's touch on it real quick. The Amanda Tapping event. Let's give it a few minutes of highlight.
I'd like to hear from the two of you what you thought about it, because I remember it, but
have you gone back and like watched the live stream again?
No, I have not.
Do you plan on it, or are you just like,
I need to? Well, I think I'm going to be the one who cuts it down into like a VOD on the website. So I think I'm going to have to at some point, but that happened on Saturday and then I was traveling. So I haven't really been able to sit down with it yet.
From a technical standpoint and from an event planning standpoint, I just want to tell you did a fantastic job. There was not a moment that was like unaccounted, except for like when somebody's Wi-Fi like lagged here or there. Yeah. It was planned out perfectly. Everything stayed on task. There was no like dead air or like weird silences. It was very engaging. You had everything set up perfectly. Amanda was wonderful, of course. And I think
there's no question there.
I think we were even talking like in the pre-waiting room area Somebody even said in the comments of like, Rebecca did such a great job on this. Like, I want to see her do more events. And I think we were talking about like how your speaking voice is just so nice to hear and listen to. So
It is.
I don't know if you got, I'm sure like everyone at the companion was giving you kudos, but I want to give you kudos as well. You did a fantastic job.
You really
Thank
did. You really did. And what I appreciate about it is very much a conversation. It felt like a conversation amongst friends. There was such a community to the two of you having conversation, but it felt comfortable. It literally felt like having tea time with Amanda, you know, just like sitting there and going through it. And you did such a wonderful job. I know how nervous you were. I know how like anxious you were and how like, but you do such a great job. And you two really are dynamic too. Not to like give you any sort of like extra praise on this that is not due. Like I mean it wholeheartedly. I couldn't imagine that happening with somebody else and having that same chemistry, because you have a true admiration for her as a person, and that shows in how you talk to her and how she talked to you. And that meant a lot, I think, to a lot of the people that we were in the chat with, of really just recognizing that it was a conversation for everybody and that felt meaningful. So even those who couldn't join the after sessions, I think my feedback on it is, I would say going forward in the future, keep that same thing, allow that live stream access for people, making sure that, you know, there's people in the chat that are making people feel included in the dialogue. Because I think people felt like, oh, I'm being heard. Oh, someone's taking note of me. I'm not just like talking to nobody.
Super important. Yeah. That's why, you know, having the two of you and Jenny in the chat were like super helpful for us, because I had no time to pay attention to what was going on in the chat. And it's such an important, but it's a heavy subject, and you want to make sure everybody's doing okay and people are saying things and people are acknowledging them, for sure.
People were great, and there was a few people in the comment sections that were there having some hard times, and the comments kind of rallied around them for a little bit. So there's a part where you and Amanda were talking, but the comment section was really helping this person that was struggling. I love that. And that was, I think Amanda would just, if she knew that, would kind of just gleam with pride, because this person got the help that they were for a moment needing. And anyway, but then afterwards, I think it was fantastic having those who did do the like sessions with Amanda and having that waiting room area where they could have community. There wasn't really a ton of lull or downtime. People were very respectful. I mean, it's a lot of people for us to like make sure, because they could come on and off mute as much as they wanted. And, you know, a lot of them commented that like even just having that like hour or so session amongst Stargate fans was as cool as like Amanda. Like, I mean, not as cool, but like they enjoyed that as well, that they could come and hang out. So I know you did great.
I know the two of you have experienced that too before this event, like with VIP events and stuff. And I wanted to carry that into this event, to make that lobby be a space where people could hang out, because it was consistently a comment that people would say back to me for feedback, to be like, I really just enjoyed talking to everybody. So
nice.
It became definitely something that I wanted to focus on. Amanda has heard a lot about everything that happened in it. I've sent her like all the comments and emails and things that I've gotten. She loved it. I can confirm that we are doing another one. I cannot give you a solid date yet, but it will be myself and Amanda. And this time we are going to focus on opening it up some to Q&A, even in the live stream.
Nice.
It was a concern of mine, which is why I didn't do it, because I wasn't sure how everybody was going to be in the comments. And I didn't want to, I wanted to test that before we opened it up. But everybody was so lovely. I have scrolled back through the live stream enough so I can read the live comments as they were going on. So I was able to like see things. And everybody was just so lovely. So there's no reason for us to not open up to some live Q&A, I think, next time as well. So Amanda and I both want to do that. So
I don't think I had to delete a single comment. There was nothing out of pocket in there at all.
Everybody was there for really good and real and valid and caring reasons. So that was so cool to see.
Well, and I think the paywall aspect really helps, because even it came up a couple of times, just like people saying, I appreciate the paywall kind of is keeping a lot of the like potential chaos kind of out of it. So just that was while there was a code for companion members and whatever could get it for free, like there was still some effort put into it. It wasn't just click a link and hop in out of nowhere. So
yeah.
Absolutely.
And even the very short amount of time where we got to like chat with Amanda in between, it was super cool.
Her like daughter's bringing her tea. Like
I know.
It felt like we were such a team of like, okay, we'll do this and this break. Like it felt awesome. Like just this cool little bit of teamwork.
Gosh, she was a trooper too. I kept asking like over and over again, do you need a break? We can pause. Like we can like make people wait a little longer. Do you need a break? No, because we were behind. So I had built in like 5 minutes in between. We blazed through that easily between. So we just kept going the whole time. It was wild.
And honestly, it was only the one individual that like had messed their time up, but that was like stressing. That I think everyone did a good job handling that on our back end.
Yeah. It was just like being able to text back and forth and be like, we're trying. We're gonna try to do something, you know. So super helpful. So I don't think it could have gone much better. I'm so happy. It was such a good conversation. I relaxed into it pretty quickly, even though I was so nervous.
I couldn't tell if that helped.
It helped that like Amanda came into the StreamYard link and popped in and we said, hey, really quickly. And she's like, I'm really nervous. like Amanda, you're supposed to make me feel less nervous. We're both nervous. What is happening? But it really did feel like a great conversation and a good connection. And it's just like, it could not have gone, to me, really couldn't have gone much better. So
kudos, like seriously, round of applause. Like it was so amazing. And for those who are listening who missed out on it, like I'm happy now you guys know there'll be another one that's upcoming.
And you'll be able to get access to the previous one, even if you just sign up for like a free trial for the companion once it's available, you can watch it. So
it's definitely worth a listen. It was a great deep dive into just some basic mental health well-being. So
I'm super excited about, and then we'll start on Urgo, but I am super excited about going back through that first live stream and finding things and finding comments and actually making part two, an actual part two, like picking up some of the things that maybe we didn't get to cover as completely and picking up the most interesting ones of those and continuing it forward. I think can be really, really powerful to make sure it actually is, we're diving even deeper on certain things. So
also, can we just appreciate the fact that Amanda's going to have a quilt with our faces on it?
She is.
Our selfie.
That's amazing.
She definitely is. I do. I got into work on Monday, and one of my coworkers was like, you guys need to focus on coordinating your outfits a little better next time because you have the exact same hair.
You do, yeah.
You should have shown up in cosplay.
I considered it, and then I was like, no, I want to be serious about the mental health.
Yeah, that's fair. So. Yeah, that's fair
enough.
If it had been a Stargate talk, I would have shown up in cosplay. No worries.
That would have been cool. Yeah, awesome. Great job.
Thanks. That's it.
All right. Now it's Urgo.
So before I love this episode so much. Clearly, I named my cat after Urgo. You can see him if you look like right at the corner of my fry light. He's on the edge of the couch.
Oh, that's where he is. I've been trying to find him.
There. Yeah.
Yeah. Why is he not up front? And the one time he's not.
He's the star of the show today. I don't understand.
He's being a diva.
Yeah.
He's being a diva.
He truly is. But what are your guys' overall thoughts on this episode? I think this is the first time we actually, because I was thinking about it and I'm like, this might be the first like humorous episode that we get that was meant to be funny. That like the overall, there were so many funny parts in it that it wasn't just like a one-off joke here or there.
Yeah, I think maybe this one might be when I was first watching SG-1 the first time, because it was at least recently enough for me to kind of remember how certain episodes hit me the first time around. And I think it was this episode that was like, oh, this show knows how to like make fun of itself and have fun, you know? So, and that was what really started like solidified how much I enjoyed the show. Because it just doesn't take itself so seriously all the time. And that's wonderful. And you know, you need that. So yeah, that would be my first.
I agree with it, and like it sets it really quickly because when they're that opening scene where they're all just doing like witty like one-liners and stuff, and like, and then there's like General Hammond, like so they all kind of are talking about like, oh, it's not as good as it seems. Like we always got to double check. Like all the jokes are kind of around, and I don't remember any of them.
Yeah.
But the first time, like I remember being like, oh, this is gonna be kind of a slapstick episode, is because you see Hammond kind of like turn and then like smirk a little bit, and like it goes off camera, and I'm like, it felt very like this time watching it through for me felt like a little bit of The Office. Like, oh wait, are you looking at the camera? Are you like looking at the audience here? Like you're doing a little smirk, and then it cuts to like opening credit.
Yeah.
Even though that's not what he was doing, but it was just you don't ever see him smirk that way, at least this early on in relation to their missions. And yeah, they had a slapstick time, and like the lasers at the end of just like it was just over dramatic about how everything was done. It was so campy. It was a very campy episode for me.
Dom DeLuise like makes this episode work. Yeah. He is like, and it made me think of Back to the Future of all things, because like I have the 25th anniversary edition where it has all the commentary, and they go on about how like if you didn't know, Eric Stoltz was supposed to be Marty McFly, and like they filmed like half the fucking movie, and then they replaced him with Michael J. Fox because it just wasn't working. And what worked with Michael J. Fox was his reaction. That was the humor. The situation itself wasn't funny. It was his reaction to it. Like when his mom is hitting on him, like his reaction to that is what makes it so funny. So you have Urgo being the actual funny humor part, but then you have the added layer of humor, which is SG-1's reaction to it. How they're slowly going nuts. How they're like on edge. How they're like literally arguing with nobody. Like the scene with Sam walking down the corridor, we do get a couple scenes from that outside perspective where we don't see Urgo. We just see them talking to themselves, and it's very humorous. Their whole reaction to him. So it was... Obviously, there has been like humor in the show before with like funny bits here and there, but never has like an entire episode been meant to be funny. And we get that again with like Wormhole Extreme and Window of Opportunity. Like those, I think the humorous episodes really like is where the show shines.
Yeah. Quick side note about Dom DeLuise. He holds the other honor of being one of maybe 5 celebrities that I saw walking on the streets of New York. So
really,
Dom DeLuise. Yep, back in the 90s, like the late 90s, actually.
Yeah. And I found out some actually like a really funny fucking fun fact that I can't wait to tell you. I hope you guys don't already know it, because I was like, I couldn't believe it, because it was about one of the funnier jokes. But there's so many cool like behind the scenes fun facts about it. And yeah, I can't. It was.
Well, let's get into it.
Let's get into it.
Let's go.
For just like some episode details, it aired January 26, 2000, and of course we have Dom DeLuise guest starring as Urgo and Togar, his alter ego. So the episode opens pre-mission, and they're like kind of in the control room. We see a beach paradise from map footage on the screen. And from all outside appearances, this planet looks like a beautiful, untouched paradise. Teal'c very wisely points out that appearances can be deceiving. We have this funny, like, idiom contest going on, because Teal'c is like, appearances can be deceiving. And Jack is like, I don't even know what that means. Like, one man's ceiling is another man's floor. Daniel says, a fool's paradise is a wise man's hell. And then Jack is like, never run with scissors. Like, they're just having, like, an idiom off, like you go, I go, and it doesn't make any sense, but it kind of like sets the tone for this episode. And then Sam requests to perform like a standard recon mission, mineral and biological surveys, because they want to determine if this planet is viable for like a research colony. So as the team heads toward the gate and walks up the ramp, Jack is like, au revoir, General, and Teal'c is like, what does that mean? So as they're walking up the ramp, Jack is explaining it means ciao, adios, auf Wiedersehen, sayonara, which all loosely translated means they step through the gate, and instead of ending up on the planet, they're just stepping back through to Earth. And then he finishes his thought. Like his train of thought did not break. And it means goodbye. So they're all of these guards are armed, waiting at the bottom of the ramp for them. There's 2 Malps there instead of just one. And everyone is confused and like, what the hell just happened? Because to SG-1, it feels like they just stepped through the gate and ended right back up on Earth. They didn't even turn around to dial. They just stepped through and stepped back through. Mm-hmm. But in reality, they have been gone for 15 hours. And we get our opening credits.
Spooky. You know what the before we go into it, because we can talk about it later, but thinking about themes or oh my gosh, my brain won't work. But so the beach scene is very common in sci-fi and whatever. It's like I think about like Tahiti, like in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., where like this concept of like this utopian place, destination that's not really where you go, but like it's all a mental mirage. I just found that
Contact.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that wasn't lost on me. I'm like, oh, gosh, that's like such a blatant like theme. Yeah. Anyway.
Definitely. You also have the trope of the lost time, like sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, even with Jack kind of like explaining his freight, like all the million ways to say goodbye, it's still like it's goofy and humorous, and it's setting the tone. Like from that jump, we kind of know this is going to be a silly, goofy time, and the music is okay. Like you get that like kind of curious theme music, and it's super interesting. So back on the base, Frasier is going over the medical exam blood work. Looks great. Externally, there's no marks or bruises on them. It doesn't look like they were in a struggle or they were beat up. But they have no memory of anything that happened, anything that happened after they left the gate room. So when they didn't return, Hammond sent another Malp, but all it showed was the same image from before, that alien, beautiful tropical paradise. There was no sign of anyone and no response to any radio calls. So both of the Malps were sent back right before SG-1 came back, and Hammond assumed that SG-1 were the ones who sent it, but it wasn't them. So in the briefing room, Hammond and SG-1 are reviewing the footage from the second Malp. It's the same image as before, but they see no signs of the first Malp. They're just like, what? Wouldn't we see the first Malp there? Yeah. Or like, and Jack is pouring coffee, and he's like, isn't that thing supposed to like probe stuff a little bit? And Sam points out like, yeah, but we wouldn't see that the Malp had moved. We would see tracks in the sand. Like there was nothing. And she's explaining this, and Jack is like pouring more coffee. They're like kind of showing like, okay, he's pouring coffee. It's kind of normal, but like they're including it anyway. So we kind of just go along with it. And then she goes through the footage frame by, my notes are all messed up. I literally just like finished them. So excuse any frame by frame, not team by team, frame by frame.
And you know what? The patrons just got those messed up notes. I just posted them.
Surprise. Spelling mistakes.
Yes.
So, because
But this is like where the best things come from of our little catchphrases. So like, gotta keep them coming.
Gator, good old Gator. So she's going through the second Malp's footage frame by frame. And at the very beginning, as the Malp is establishing connection, before we see the tropical paradise, there's like one frame of this darkened room, and it looks like a lab with equipment that looks really advanced. So O'Neill and as Sam is going through this, like O'Neill and Daniel are super into their coffee, and they're like, "Oh my god!"
Because they're like, "Oh, wow.
Yeah, what's in?" They're like looking in their cups, and Sam kind of puts like she assumes that the previous image was a fake and the projection was intended to lure them in. So we have some dialogue. It's Daniel, Carter, O'Neill, Teal'c, and Hammond. So I'll grab O'Neill.
I got Daniel.
And do you want to do Teal'c too, and then
Carter,
Hammond?
I'll do Carter and Hammond. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. I think I'm gonna start putting like the names at the top so we can know who all is in this chunk.
You're so smart.
Craig.
Hi, Craig. Okay. So Daniel starts with, wow, this coffee's great.
I was just thinking that.
Yeah, is that cinnamon?
It's, oh my gosh, chicory?
Yeah.
Chicory.
So then we see Teal'c unscrew the lid from the whole pot of coffee, and he just downs it all.
Teal'c?
Isn't that hot?
Extremely.
Just stay on the base. We're going to need to keep an eye on you for the time being.
I feel fine. As do I, Daniel Jackson.
For someone who just drank half a gallon of steaming hot coffee?
Right. so Hammond is like, just don't go anywhere. Stay where you are, please, for the love of God. Because that was like the first super funny thing, because he just unscrews the top and just gulps it right down. And isn't that hot? Extremely, but completely unbothered by it.
But it's delightful. I love it.
Yep. So, cut to the commissary. Jack is going over like paperwork of some kind. It looks like pictures of something. And while he's doing this, he like eats a slice of pie. And he takes a bite and he does a double take. He's like, what the fuck? And he's enjoying it so much, he like puts his paperwork aside and he just fists this pumpkin pie and just starts horking it down.
So he does this thing that I've never really noticed someone else do, but Ryder does it a lot. But he's like eating it and then he's like questioning it. And so he sniffs it. He's like, and then starts eating it again. And I was like, oh, Ryder does it all the time. But anyway, I thought it was cute because it was like, wait, is this really? Oh, yeah, it's really good.
Yeah. I smell food when it's questionable, when I'm like, let me smell it first.
Oh,
smells good.
Everything. She's like, everything.
I love it. So this is like another thing. First, it's this coffee where they're like super into it. They're like, oh my God, this is so good. And it's probably just like the same old shitty coffee that they stockpile from like whatever, place that they get it from. Now it's this pumpkin pie. And then we see Sam in the gate room working on the map, and she just randomly gets up and walks away. She leaves. And then we cut to Daniel, who's working in his lab, and he just like randomly also just puts his stuff down and gets up and leaves. They both end up walking into the commissary. Teal'c is already there with Jack, and they just have transformed their whole table into like a buffet.
It's so good.
It's mostly just like an assortment of desserts, like Jell-O, pie, and then like O'Neill's eating yogurt. I didn't really see anything else, but I'm sure there was like donuts and like it was a dessert table pretty much. Which, how did that happen? This is my thought. Like, who did that? Did O'Neill just like start taking everything and like putting
Guaranteed
it over there?
It was O'Neill.
Oh yeah.
Guaranteed.
Oh yeah. Considering he also grabbed for the last plate before they left. Yeah.
Yeah. And I also remember this just brings back another memory of an episode with Teal'c in the commissary. And I don't know why, but it cracked me up where he just like has a whole bunch of grapes on his plate. And he just I don't know why it was so funny, but it's literally just like an entire bunch of like, it's like cartoon character-y, where it's like, let me pick it up and eat it like a lady being fanned with a giant leaf. Yeah.
The commissary workers, every time SG-1 comes up in there, they're like, oh shit.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
What are they gonna like? What are they gonna ask for this time?
We need the chat GPT story of the commissary workers at the SGC.
Yes.
And how Teal'c eats so much because he has this superpower that he needs to like keep his body fueled. He's eating for two essentially. So we have dialogue. It's O'Neill, Carter, Daniel, and Teal'c. So I'll grab the O'Neill.
All right, I'll do
Carter.
Daniel Teal'c.
Excellent.
All right, so Daniel says,
Hold on.
What? Oh, what?
Plot twist. SG-1 is the only ones on the base that eat Jell-O.
I mean, Sam goes right for the blue Jell-O. That was her first
Every
thing
time.
she dug into.
Wasn't there a thing, I don't know if I just imagined this, but didn't you say, Rebecca, that it's probably because it's one of the only foods that holds up for a long time without having to be refrigerated?
Yeah,
it's
like when you're doing multiple takes, Jell-O is
Yeah.
a really good one. I imagine things like grapes, that are not like you eat one, you're not biting into something. So for continuity purposes, it's also, things like that are easier to deal with on food.
Yeah.
That being said, when I, shooting my feature film and we had a couple of food scenes, we kept warning everybody, hey, slow down on those like Chinese noodles.
Yeah.
And they didn't. And we, of course, had to do like 8 takes of the same shot.
My God.
And everybody was dying by the end of it. So
Just like full.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were like, but it tasted so good. And I'm like, we had to do 8 takes of that. Come on. Like,
yeah. There's a whole genre of work called food styling where they prepare. I follow somebody on TikTok that does it. It's super fascinating how they style food for like the box of cereal or whatever to like put it on the product, but then also like you think magazines and stuff. And it's so creative of like even with pancakes, how they like put pieces of cardboard in between each pancake to like make it look fluffier and like it's super fascinating. And like the laws surrounding it of how they're allowed to do certain things. Like when you look at a box of cereal, that's not milk, that's like glue or some shit.
Oh yeah.
But they're not selling milk, so they don't have to put milk on it. There just has to be like the actual cereal. So anyway, we have our dialogue. Take us away, Daniel.
Okay. Daniel says, "Hungry?"
Yeah.
Try the pie.
Sir, I'm running a full diagnostic on the, and she like eats a piece of blue jello, of course, and pauses. Wow.
Oh yeah.
And Daniel has his mouth full. "This is the best pie I've ever had."
What's so different about it?
Same old pie.
"It is most satisfying."
Why does it taste so good?
I don't know. All I do know is I don't even like yogurt because he's eating like this runny, like it looks like melted ice cream, but I guess it's yogurt. So like and I think I can't remember because I was kind of in a rush tonight, but like I think they're getting weird looks too from other people in the commissary.
The people behind them are like,
fuck? Like the airmen that are like tasked with following them around to make sure that they're okay. They're like, what the fuck? Like, what is happening here? And again, I would like to see the deleted scene of like O'Neill and Teal'c just like stop. I imagine them doing it together. Like grab some of that and just like bringing it over to this beautiful table. It's like a beautiful dessert table. You would see at like a wedding or some shit.
Oh God, I love it. I'm gonna pre-apologize. Ryder's in a very intense Fortnite battle back there, so I went to go close the room. But if we hear screaming, everyone is fine. She's just in a battle.
I did hear a little bit earlier.
I did too. I thought it was you, Rebecca. I'm like, are you safe? Is the Airbnb?
I just need everybody to know if there are screams in the background, my child is on Fortnite right now. Okay. That is all.
Good to know.
Yes.
So
anyway, continue.
They're paged over the intercom to report to MedLab 3. And they all get up to leave, and just as Jack gets out the door, he like turns around real quick and he grabs one more piece of pie for the road. And Dr. Fraser ends up showing SG-1 their brain scans on the monitor. So we have Fraser, Carter, Daniel, Hammond, O'Neill. So again, I'll grab the O'Neill.
I can do Fraser, Daniel, because there's not a lot of Daniel.
Okay.
Sure. I'll do Carter and Hammond.
Carter, Hammy.
Alrighty. All right. Fraser says, "These scans have a certain percentage of error. Basically, it looks like an errant pixel."
But it's in the exact same place on each of the scans.
So I had to run a comparative analysis on the computer to be sure. It's in the exact same spot in each of your brains, but we're talking about something smaller than the head of a pin.
Barely large enough to show up on an X-ray.
Right. Which is why I also need to run an electron resonance scan.
And she takes out new X-rays.
And she goes,
pops them up on the light board.
And she goes, "This is magnified several thousand times, sir." Put them up on the thing, and it shows these little devices. And then Daniel says, "That thing is in all of us?" Fraser says, "I'm afraid so."
So we cut to like Hammond has now joined the crew.
Can these devices be removed?
Not without causing irreparable brain damage, sir.
What's the downside?
How they were implanted without any external marks or injury to the cortex is beyond me.
Can we determine what threat they pose?
Apparently all desserts on base are in grave danger.
We've determined that there's a barely measurable electromagnetic field being emitted by the devices, but I'm not sure what that means.
Well, so far all we've noticed are some cravings and a certain increased acuity in our senses.
Especially taste and smell, Daniel says.
Until we find out the true purpose of these objects, I am quarantining you in the level 22 isolation quarters with a 24-hour guard.
They're on lockdown.
Locking it down. Hammy's locking it down.
So far, all we know is that like there's something going on with their sensory perception. Everything tastes really good, smells really good, and they're kind of like linked together. Like they all responded to Jack eating the pie by coming into the commissary. And now they see this like thing in their head. If we had a cryptic image, it would be a snitch because it kind of looked like a snitch, all magnified. And it's all in the same place on every single one of them. So like clearly this was implanted in them, although it's a total mystery how, because there's no external marks. It must have been some extremely advanced person or technology that did this. So in the isolation room, which basically looks like an employee lounge, Jack is playing a handheld video game, Sam is working on her laptop, and Daniel and Teal'c are playing chess. And we hear this disembodied sing-songy voice be like, boring. And all of SG-1 hear it, but none of them said it. So we have this dialogue. It's Urgo, O'Neill, Teal'c, and Daniel.
You know you're Urgo, right?
Okay. Okay. We can all try if we want to. I put a lot of Urgo I could not put it in.
You don't have to be. You don't have to be, but
let's try it out. So I'll do Urgo.
I'll do O'Neill.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, I'll take Teal'c, Daniel.
So the voice still disembodied. What do you say we all go do something?
Teal'c, did you hear that?
I did.
Who's there?
Okay, I'll make it so you can all see me, but only because you asked. And then he appears in a bright flash of light. You can all see me, right?
Apparently.
Oh my god, I'm so glad. Hello, hello, hello. Now you all say it.
Hello.
Hello, Urgo.
So just like, you look so much better on the outside than on the inside. On the inside is so complicated. Oh, please. So he's this like jovial kind of like childlike thing. Jack calls over the guard that's stationed at the door and asks the guard if he can see an intruder in the room. And the guard does not see anyone extra. He does not see Urgo. And we have more dialogue. Urgo, Daniel, Carter, O'Neill. So
I got Daniel.
I'll grab Carter and.
Do you want to stay with Urgo?
Somebody else give him a try.
All right.
Rebecca?
I'll give him a try.
I'll be O'Neill.
Okay.
No, you are not dreaming.
You read our thoughts?
Don't panic. Just the thoughts you're having at the moment. Of course, you're actually in our heads, aren't you? You are so smart, Samantha. I love that about you.
Carter?
The technology implanted in our brains, sir. We're looking at some sort of visual communication interface, a controlled hallucination.
So, what?
He gets confused. By the way, who is Mary Steenbergen? This is incredible. The devices must be linked somehow. Dr. Fraser said they're emitting a small EM field, like radio frequencies.
Are you saying the devices in our brains are some sort of wireless computer network?
Yeah, an incredibly sophisticated one, obviously able to work over significant distances. I mean, that's why we were all drawn to the commissary when Colonel O'Neill was eating dessert.
He can make us do stuff?
No, never. In spite of what you're thinking, never. But you can make suggestions, can't you? And enhance our sensory perception of experiences.
Like making things taste better.
Well, didn't it? Well, why not? He's tapped into our brains. He's making us all see and hear him. Boring. By the way, who decorated this room? It's so plain. Please don't tell me that your whole planet is like this. Not the whole planet. Hey, could we go someplace else that's not here? Someplace, that's not here? Cree, anywhere.
So we kind of get some more like that's Sam kind of figures out like this is what's in our head. It's some kind of like implanted AI person, but like what's the point? And in the meantime, like he's interacting with them. It's all very super hilarious. So in the infirmary, SG-1 are trying to tell Janet what's going on, but Urgo will not shut up.
Okay, I really want to be Urgo in this one.
Okay.
Though. Can someone do Daniel?
Yeah, I'll do.
Absolutely.
I'll do Daniel.
There's a Fraser too. That's not in the list.
Oh yeah. Whoops.
I can take Fraser for the one.
Okay. What's this? And you're seeing the exact same thing at the exact same time?
Yep.
What is this?
It's a defibrillator.
Ah, interesting. Thank you. Is it defibrillating right now?
It seems to crave new experiences. You use the paddles to administer an electric shock to people whose hearts are beating irregularly.
Ah, and then they feel better? Does it feel good? Does it hurt? It hurts.
I would think so.
Let's try it.
No, I don't think so.
Why not? It's not going to kill you, is it? Is it? Or is it? I'm afraid it talks to you.
I think it experiences things through us, using our sensors to collect information.
Try the paddles.
So Teal gets up, and it was so funny because he's like, try the paddles. And Teal just like very robotically gets up, walks over, turns them on, and has them in his hands. And Janet is like, oh my God, what are you doing? Stop. And I think even Jack is like, Teal, what the hell? So he has some influence on them too. He can't like physically make them do it, but he makes them kind of want to do it. He can influence them and kind of like make them crave pie or like crave what it feels like to be defibrillated. But it was so funny. She's like, is it defibrillating right now? So SG-1 explained like, hey, it's not total control. It's just the power of suggestion. He can enhance their sensations to motivate them, like getting them to come to the commissary. So this is so funny. This is Teal'c and Urgo. Do you guys want to read this? Because like they're talking about like, you know, he wants to learn from us, but he's not really teaching us anything. Like, why is he here? What can we learn from him? Do you guys want to read this?
Yeah, which one
Sure.
you want to be?
I'll do this little Urgo one, yeah.
Okay. He appears unresponsive to direct questioning.
No, that's not true. Oh, I'm picking your brains. You can pick my brains. I'll tell you anything you want to know. Ask me anything. What?
Tell us how to remove you from our brains.
Oh, except that. Duh.
So, and it was so funny because he was like, except for that, like he literally like,
Boo,
Raz-
tomato,
Pretty
boo.
much.
Tomato, boo.
except for that. And he's kind of annoyed and he doesn't understand, like, why do you want to remove me? He's like, you know, he goes on like this rant. He's like, years from now, you're going to be thinking about me and you're going to say, how did I ever get along all those years with that wonderful constant companion? Woof. And then Jack is like, years from now?
I love Daniel's like, woof.
Right?
Like, oh God.
So,
But like, it's interesting because he obviously has pulled that from somebody's brain because he's pulling like vernacular from like language.
Yeah.
And like, and now I'm wondering who secretly has that as their like internal thing.
Jack has used.
I'm going to say
wolf
Jack.
Has he?
before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
He says crying out loud too later on when they're in the locker room. So Jack poses the question again, like, why is he even there in their brains at all? And Sam gets it. He's here to experience and learn. And Daniel's like comparing them, like we're being like, it's like wild animals being tagged. And then this was so fucking funny. Do you guys want to read that? It's just like this little quip.
We are not wild animals.
Speak for yourself, big fella.
Speak for your big fella. Like
Big fella.
So Sam brings up the race that created Urgo. Like, won't they eventually want all this information back that they're collecting? They'll have to go back eventually and maybe they can remove him. But how? And she's wondering, like, he's like, no, we don't want to go there. No. Like, they're bad. They're evil monsters. They're going to scoop you out with like big. And she's like, well, how can you defy your creators? Like, you're an AI, you're a program. How are you able to do this? And he's basically said, no, they're evil, scary people, and the only way to remove them would kill them. They'll open your brains with a big giant can opener, and they'll scoop you out with a big old scoopy thing. That's how it works. It's death or me or death. You got to decide, me or death.
But like, I love it's such a childish way of just manic anxiety about like, no.
Yeah.
Like,
So at this point, he's giving them the story of like, it'll kill you to remove me. So he ends that scene with saying, me or death. Cut to the briefing room. He's just singing over and over again. Me, just like at the end of the table, just over and over again. And they're all visibly annoyed. Like you have Daniel and Teal'c sitting next to each other, and they're just like looking at each other. Jack and Sam, like someone's like twiddling their thumbs, like, oh my God, stop. And Jack eventually breaks, and he's just like turns and yells at him. We have a comment?
Yeah.
It's from earlier, but it's about this scene, so I popped it up.
Yep. So this is that bit. She says there's a bit where O'Neill yells for Urgo to shut up, and to everyone else, it looks like he's shouting at a rando airman. O'Neill and the airman have this hilarious nonverbal interaction from it, which is true. He shouts at Urgo. He's like, "Will you knock it off?" And we cut to like a scene from like the outside perspective where Urgo is not there, and it's just this empty chair, and like off in the background, there's this one random airman there, and like. He kind of like looks at O'Neill like, "You talking to me?" But it was so funny. And Jack thinks that they just need to risk it and go back to the planet. But Sam is like, "Hey, let me try to figure out something with the technology. Like I might be able to figure something out to like disable it at least." And she says, "I might be able to turn him off," which kind of he gets a little upset at that word. He's like, "You want to do what to me?"
Mm-hmm.
So he's trying to distract them and get them to play hide and seek. While he's counting, they all ditch him. He's like, 1, 2, and like in the meantime, while he's counting, Hammond tells Sam, like, whatever you got to do. And then they just all get up and leave. So cut to Sam walking down the corridor. This is where we get that outside perspective. Mm-hmm. She's just walking down. She has like her assigned like coat, her buddy, like her bathroom buddy that like follows her everywhere to make sure that like she's not doing anything crazy. And we just see her, it's like she's talking to herself. So do you want to read that, Rebecca?
Yeah. I don't have time to play, Urgo. I don't care if I'm it, because I have work to do. No, I am not hungry. Look, go eat pie with Colonel O'Neill. I'm very busy right now.
So she runs into Fraser and Hammond, and Fraser, like, she's trying to talk to Urgo and tell him to, like, leave Sam alone. And Sam, it's like, again, she looks like she's going bonkers because she's like, well, actually, he's over here. So then Janet, like, turns. She's like, Urgo, Sam is very busy right now. And he does something very rude, and we don't know what it is. Whether it's, like, he, like, gives her the middle finger or just is, like blowing raspberries in her face. Like, who knows what he did? But Sam was like, Urgo, that's so rude. Like, what are you doing? And Fraser's like, what did he do? What? And we never know. But we get that interaction that we see without Dom DeLuise standing in there doing, like, silly shit. It's what everyone else perceives SG-1 doing without seeing Urgo. So cut to her lab. Ultimately, she believes that an EM pulse will disable him. And he's been trying really hard to distract her since she got the idea. So she thinks, like, I really must be onto it. He gets kind of angry at one point, and it causes Sam to spill hot tea on her hand. And he apologizes, and he's like, it was an accident. I'm super sorry. And there's this one, this is really funny, where she's kind of explaining it, and it ends the conversation with, it should render Urgo impotent. And he's like, could you please rephrase that? Like, what the fuck? So Jack gives her the go-ahead, and Urgo begins to beg them not to do it. And if there's no objections, I would like to read this because this is one of my favorite parts.
Please,
do it.
It's like, please have mercy. Oh, I can be smaller. Look here. Look how teeny weeny I am. How can anything this teeny weeny hurt anybody? Wait, I can be dull. Want me to be dull? What a nice shade of gray. How about some white bread with mayonnaise? Want to watch golf on television? Oh, no? What about this? Then he reappears as like this hot young airman. Can you resist this?
Who's not hot, but it's
right,
just
like,
one of the other DeLuise brothers, isn't it?
It is, yes. That was the fun fact. It's his son dressed up. So like he's the younger, he's like in the Air Force blues, which honestly is so hilarious because it's like, you know, he's trying to appeal to Sam to be like, how could you resist this?
He's got her pegged.
So He begins to act like he's melting away. He's like, "Oh, sacre bleu, like I'm melting, like from
It
the
was
Wizard
very
of
like,
Oz."
yeah, I was gonna say it was very Wizard of Oz-esque. I'm melting.
And Sam is like, "It's on a timer, Urgo. It hasn't gone off yet." And just as he's asking, like, "Oh, how much time do I have?" and gone. He like disappears, like from top to bottom.
Mm-hmm.
So cut to like the lab or one of the medical rooms. Fraser says the devices are still there, but the EM pulse that they emitted is now gone. Hammond tells them to wait it out a week just to like see what happens before returning to duty. And SG-1 feel no different. They feel fine. They don't, but it's quiet. They don't hear him. They're like, listen, hear that? Silence. Oh my God, thank God. So Fraser's going over medical paperwork with Sam and tells her that she and Cassandra are planning like to rent a rowboat and have some like fun on a lake. And if Sam is cleared, she can come with. So as Sam is leaving, she begins to sing "Row, row, row your boat." And Fraser looks up in surprise because on all the monitors that are in like SG-1's lounges, they all begin to sing "Row, row, row your boat." So like Jack is playing with the ball and he's just like, he's kind of like mumble singing. Daniel is doing work and he's just like singing along as he works. And Teal'c is like doing his Kelnorim. And they're kind of all singing in their like own personalities too. So that's kind of an indication like, wait a minute, they're still linked together somehow. So in the briefing room, Jack denies that he was singing at all, but then Janet plays him the footage to prove him wrong. And he's like, well, if you call that singing, for one. But then they realize it must be Urgo, and he reappears in the chair next to Fraser. And, you know, they're all clearly frustrated. They're like, oh my God, he's not gone. I thought this would work. And Hammond tells them as long as he's still there, they're relieved from active duty. They can't have like this person in their brain. It's kind of like, I would equate it to like a mental illness or like even just like hallucinating, being high and like hallucinating, or you know, it could distract them. Even if he's not real, it's a very real distraction. So they argue that like he can't control us, so what's the big deal? But then Janet points out that Sam spilled her tea and burned her hand. Urgo says that he didn't mean it, and then all of SG-1 repeat it in unison that he didn't mean it, further proving to Hammond that he still has some kind of influence over them. So there's some dialogue. It's Urgo, Carter, O'Neill. I'll do O'Neill.
Carter.
Okay. I'll do Urgo. It's just the one.
He's like, come on, Urgo, be a mensch. How do we get rid of you?
I have no idea. I don't know.
How could he
really
not know? Oh, I'm sorry.
he really may not know, sir.
How could he not know?
He's just the program. I'm just saying that your software doesn't know how your computer works.
Hey, my software doesn't make me sing row, row, row your boat. So Urgo promises, he's like, I can be quiet like little church mouse. And he immediately like breaks his promise and he's like talking about how he wants to play a game with a dictionary. It all sounds like kind of boring actually. And you know, then they cut to the gate room. They're sending another Malp through to Urgo's homeworld. And Sam is kind of explaining what the Malp is because she's like, what is that? What are you doing? And she kind of seems to enjoy teaching him and explaining things to him. And like she explains that the beach is just like a fake image to lure people in. He's like, see, they're evil. So Hammond speaks over the radio, trying to send a message to like the creators of the people of that planet. And this was super funny because Urgo like says this to O'Neill. He's like, you know, you were just thinking of that island Maui with the big beaches and the little bikinis. That's where we should go because it's very nice and warm there instead of being here. And the look that Sam looks over her shoulder to like give Jack a look like, okay. And he gives her a look of like, no, it wasn't me. I was not thinking that. It wasn't me. I promise. So a voice replies and it says, who dare challenge Togar? And they call Daniel up because he is ever the voice of reason. Do you guys want to read that?
Sure. This is Dr. Daniel Jackson. We don't mean to challenge you. We've discovered the devices you've implanted in our brains, and we'd like you to remove them. Him?
Urgo.
How
do you know this name?
He told us he interacts with us.
He's driving us crazy.
That is an error. Return the subjects. Urgo will be removed.
So right away, Jack is ready. He's like, let's go. Let's pack up. Let's leave.
Mhm.
But Sam points out, like, hey, this is still a risk. Like, we don't know if they can remove him without hurting us. And O'Neill poses the question, do we want to give up SG-1 and walk around the rest of our lives with him yapping away in our heads? And Daniel and Teal'c agree. They're like, sorry, Urgo, you gotta go, man. And he tries to plead with Sam because he knows he reminds her of her Uncle Irving. And she smiles and she agrees, but she also agrees that Urgo has to go. And it autocorrected to Urgy.
Urgy.
So
Urgy has to go.
So they call my cat. Urgy boy. So in the locker room, SG-1 are preparing to get ready to go off-world. And I included, there's a lot of dialogue here, but this is really like the crux of the episode.
Mm-hmm.
So we have Jack, Daniel, Teal'c, Sam, and Urgo. So I will grab Jack.
I can do the Daniel Teal'c if you want to do Sam Urgo.
Sam and Urgo. Got it.
Get ready. All right. Daniel says, what do you suppose Togar really meant by an error?
I suppose he meant Urgo wasn't supposed to be interacting with us. Oh, please don't go. He's gonna kill you. He really will. He's nasty. I'll be a painful and awful death. Honest. Okay, fine. He's gonna kill me. You heard him. Oh, you people, for crying out loud. Don't you have any feelings? Do you?
Carter, why do you humor him? He's obviously programmed for self-preservation.
Sir, that voice, Togar, said that this was an error. We're probably not even supposed to know he's here. You aren't supposed to be interacting with us, are you? Well, actually, when I first, and we got to be, technically, no. Can you describe how you're feeling right now? Me? Nervous, agitated, a little bit hungry.
Afraid?
Oh, sure, okay. Of what? Oh, going away like last time, not experiencing, not being here with you. Of death? Oh yeah, sure. Big time. He's gonna kill me, and that's why that death thing keeps popping up. Sir?
Carter?
Wait a minute, Jack.
Daniel?
By definition, what constitutes a sentient life form?
Self-awareness, consciousness. I'm me, no doubt about that. What else? The ability to think independently. I'm independent. I just, like company.
Fear of death?
I got that too.
You're not going to convince me it's alive. Look. And he puts his arms through him and waves it around.
Hey.
He's not really here. He's here. He taps his head. In our heads.
There are plenty of life forms that require other life forms to live. Then you are a parasite, like the Goa'uld.
Parasite, like the Goa'uld. Or a Tok'ra. I mean, just by being parasitical by nature doesn't make you inherently bad.
It's a machine.
That hurts. Sir, he's artificial intelligence, but just because someone made him doesn't mean he isn't alive. Listen to her.
What are you saying?
I'm just saying we should consider it. I mean, maybe this error wasn't really an error at all, but rather some higher technological evolution, the birth of a whole new life form.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think I agree with Sam.
Sorry. What?
Well, sir, it's just...
No, Hammond said it. We've been compromised. Now we explain the situation to this Toga guy, and we let him deal with Hugo once he's out of our heads.
Urgo.
So, they have this really interesting conversation about, wait a minute. He's afraid to die. He's independent. He has his own personality. He's afraid of death. He wants to learn and experience. Is this what makes something sentient? Even though, okay, it's a life form. Maybe it's not a life form that we're familiar with, but who are we to say what is a life form and what is not? This is an alien. We see aliens on a regular basis. How are we to say what is alive and what isn't?
Yeah.
So SG-1 go to the planet. They're immediately transported to another room. and Togar appears. He looks exactly like Urgo, just like his hair's a little more like combed down. Urgo's he looks like a little crazy, like his around his ears and stuff, but they look exactly the same. And Togar can also see and hear Urgo with his Bluetooth earbuds that he's wearing.
They're fantastic.
Basically. And Togar shows them how he removes Urgo from a little creature that pops up in like a dome. It's like some kind of aquatic creature. And the creature remains unharmed. So we have conversation. It's Daniel, Togar, Urgo, Carter. I think that's it. And O'Neill at the end.
O'Neill, yeah.
So we'll grab the O'Neill and Togar, or...
Yeah, I'll take Daniel.
And Rebecca, you can be Urgo Carter.
Sure.
Okay.
I don't think I have to talk as much to myself in this one.
Okay.
So.
This is rough.
All right. What about Urgo?
It will be destroyed.
See? Oh, what did I tell you? Oh, please don't let him do this to me. Teal, help me. Kree, jump him. Give him a double Jaffa. Go on. The technology you invented is very advanced.
Yes.
It's because they're all too scared to go out and experience things for themselves.
Enough.
Look, we're very grateful that you're willing to take Urgo out of our minds.
The point is, we think Urgo may actually be alive.
He is an error.
Maybe he is, but another word for it might be miracle.
That is ridiculous.
Well, what you call an error has somehow resulted in life. I mean, he's self-aware. He's acting and thinking independently. He's afraid of his own death. By any definition, he's acting alive.
All we're saying is that maybe there is a way of doing this without killing him. And Togar says, there is not. So Togar explains that it has to be in a life form. He can't exist on his own. And Daniel proposes that Togar put Urgo into his brain.
So Daniel says, look, we don't know you very well, but I get the distinct feeling that Urgo is everything you're not. But I think that he's everything you wish you were. Outgoing, adventuresome. Look, it would be a chance to change, to maybe experience some of the things that you're afraid to do yourself.
No, not afraid. And then,
Why do you not explore worlds through the Stargate yourself?
And then like that immediately shuts him up. He has no response to that. And he kind of thinks, and he agrees. He's like, maybe it could help me find out where the error occurred. So we have like this nice kind of circle back to where Urgo's like, nope, I don't want to do it. He's mean and boring and mean. And Jack is like, it's him or death. Death or him.
Nice callback.
So Togar does the switch. Daniel wants to make sure that Urgo is still alive, and they can all tell based on how annoyed Togar is. He's like, shut up. Like, he's already like, I will tell them as soon as you are quiet. So Sam does make an effort to strike up an ally ship, but Togar zaps them away immediately. We see Urgo try to get Togar to play some fun game with him, and that's the last we see. They kind of like walk off down the corridor with Urgo harassing Togar. Cut back to SG-1. They enter the gate room. They look confused as if like before they just left and came right back through the gate. And Hammond is like, oh, here we go again. He's like, get to the infirmary, guys. And this made me wonder. I was like, wait a minute. Do they even remember talking to Togar and getting Urgo removed?
See, I don't think so.
Yeah. They might not even remember that entire interaction. They'll just have to be confirmed. Like, Janet will do their brain scans again and be like, I guess he's gone. What the fuck? Like,
yeah.
But that was the end. That was the end of our episode.
No.
What a wonderful episode. It was.
It's a
Watch
fun
it
one.
for yourself. Our
so
rereadings might be hilarious, but not as hilarious as watching the episode.
No, it's definitely a feel good when you just are kind of in a cathartic state. You're kind of, I don't know. It's like my rainy day. I'm kind of in a gloom. That's a good one to put on.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So I forgot to, because I made a separate note for fun facts and discussion. So I'll just read off. So Dom DeLuise ad-libbed most of his lines, which that
no
tracks.
surprise there. Yeah.
It feels very organic. Like he was just flying by the seat of his pants. He was freeballing it, if you will. So did you guys notice that Teal he didn't have a lot of dialogue? Did you guys notice that? There's a reason for it, because Christopher Judge and the writers made a mutual decision to reduce Teal'c's camera time because of Judge's extreme difficulty in keeping a straight face around Dom DeLuise when cameras were rolling, largely due to DeLuise's constant ad-libbing and cracking jokes on and off set. As a result, many of Teal'c's lines were either removed or given to other members of the cast. So
that's impressive, because like RDA did that all the time too. So this is like next level. Then Dom DeLuise is next level.
I like that it was mutual too. That Chris Judge was like, "I'm sorry, I cannot.
You're right, I can't handle it."
Yeah. Oh, I would have lost my shit. I love that, because it's hard for him because his character can't crack up.
So,
like everyone else has some room to like chuckle or move, but Teal'c, he starts chuckling. That's just like Teal'c doesn't do that.
Can you imagine just the try the paddles scene?
Right. That's what I was thinking of. Yeah. Or like when Teal'c is like, then tell us how to remove you from our brains. Except for that, like, how could I would love to see those deleted scenes. And unfortunately, for the DVDs that I have, the commentary, like season 4 is when it starts the commentary. So I'm gonna basically watch the episode twice with like my normal run through, and then watch it again for the commentary to get like all the tidbits and stuff that they talk about.
Nice.
So that's why Teal'c's kind of not in this episode much, because he was like, I can't handle it, man. I'm gonna keep laughing.
God, that's a very good reason. And Nell's comment, that's a great reason.
Yeah. So the younger, more handsome version of Urgo is played by the actor's son, Peter DeLuise, who directed this episode, which I never knew. It's so funny. Can you resist this? So
Peter DeLuise was always taking digs at everybody and himself and everything. So that makes perfect sense. Like perfect sense.
So good.
That whole scene was I can be boring. What a nice shade of gray. Want to watch golf on television?
Some white bread and mayonnaise.
And that, like, the fact that I'm sure it was all ad-libbed was just even makes it funnier.
Oh my god, yeah. God.
So Urgo asks, who is Mary Steenburgen? There was a scene where, like, I forget, but he's like reading Jack's mind. He's like, by the way, who is Mary Steenburgen? And Richard Dean Anderson, who plays Jack, claims that he was once changed. I can't read, sorry. He claims that he once changed his voicemail message to say in his own voice, "This is Mary Steenburgen. Please leave a message." Richard later claimed he never met Mary at the time. He just liked that sound of her name. There's at least one other Mary Steenburgen reference that Jack, and I believe it's in Heroes. Is that correct?
There is one in Heroes. There might even be another one though.
Yeah,
I feel
that's
like
the one I remember.
That keeps happening.
Yes.
Who is married to Ted Danson in real life?
Maybe that's why I thought of Back to the Future, because she's Claire Clayton in Back to the Future 3.
So
she
is, yeah.
So when asked what Urgo looks like, O'Neill responds with a famous tenor, which is a reference to not only Dom DeLuise's opera experience, but also the vocal range in which he sang. I did not know that he was an opera singer. So kind of like, that's our fun facts, but for themes and discussions, it really is about sentience. Like what was Urgo doing to show sentience? And it's also about, like, he shows free will. He's defying his creator. Even though he is a program, basically AI, he has his own motivations, his own personality, and he can be like, fuck you to my creator. They're evil, mean, nasty people. His fear of death, his curiosity, his desire to learn, and a clear personality.
Yeah, like in thinking about that, because how many people has this, what's his face, probed with these things and just let back in, and it's strictly just to like observe and go out. But Urgo's like, no, I actually want to explore myself and go out, like in that programming. And it's just taking on those steps. I appreciate their dialogue that steps back and forth at the end that we read through the dialogue, because it's the first time we've really seen Stargate run through what they define as that sentient, which then helps us and later kind of episodes clarify, when do they draw the line at what.
Yeah.
And I appreciate the way that they got about it was because he was expressing emotion unique to himself, not aligned with one of them. It wasn't mirroring them. It was around death. Like, he understood death.
Yeah. I like how they say, hey, he is alive. Maybe, he does deserve to live, but we still get a choice in this. This is not, we still need to decide if we want him to be in our brains. We didn't consent to this. It goes back to consent as well. So, okay, Urgo is alive, but also, like, we should not just accept this. Like, it, at the end of the day, like, we didn't allow this to happen, so we should get a choice in this. I also thought, and this might be completely wrong, please correct me, but it could be an allegory for like schizophrenia or like hallucinating. It reminded me of the movie like A Beautiful Mind, like seeing something, hearing something that's not really there. You kind of get that in those scenes where like we get the outside perspective where Urgo is not there, but they very clearly are interacting with something or someone.
So and again, not fully educated, but like having worked with, so because what's even the word now is some people I follow on TikTok where they're what do they call it, like multiple
dissociative identity disorder.
No, but so they're where people come forward or come back, because that schizophrenic space, we're not the experts on that, but like
correct,
I view it more, that's more of like what I think the show is showing is more of like the like a mirage, a hallucination, but like they're not switching themselves. Like I feel like the Gould and the Choker would be more of the like one personality come forward and then the other that's in the body. That would be different.
Yeah, I mean, I've transported people that are diagnosed schizophrenic though that were having full blown hallucinations. One guy was hallucinating the entire book of Revelations in his backyard. So
that's fascinating.
Yeah. And the best part about that transport, he was a really nice dude, but he was just like seeing all this stuff and like,
that's so sad.
He was talking to an angel in the back of the ambulance the whole time. And every time I would have to ask him a question about like, his name or things like that, he'd be like, hold on a second. Like he's shutting the angel up to like turn around and talk to me.
Yeah.
It was wild, but like super nice guy, but like totally hallucinating all this stuff. And
interesting.
Some of that also though is like, if it's drug abuse induced schizophrenia, which can happen too.
Yeah.
So, I've transported multiple people that were doing that hallucination thing, kind of like Urgo, like the guy that was literally telling an angel to be quiet, like up in the corner of the ambulance. So,
Lexa made a comment questioning neurodivergency. No, I mean, because like I'm neurodivergent. Like I think there's a spectrum of it. I do think people who are neurodivergent can go into that space, but I wouldn't necessarily say that's the same thing.
And obviously, like they portray it in a very humorous way because that can be very dark and like disturbing for people. So it was a very humorous way of putting it.
They also
like the best case scenario.
Yeah, I think Hollywood in general also portrays that concept in a very accessible, like concrete way, which is not,
how it actually
necessarily how it actually is perceived by the person who is perceiving it. So,
but you know what? Actually, to go back, I think the way that I could see it as neurodivergent is like I do have conversations within myself and talk out loud a lot. So there's probably a lot of imaginary dialogue going on that like I am talking to myself. So I could see that representation because very much like I could be a Sam Carter, like replaying something in my head or a conversation, debating myself down a hallway and be like, what is going on? And it's just like me working a thought out. So that would be interesting.
Yeah. Also, like if you think about, and again, not an expert, just like posing the thought, but like, and we watched this in health class in like 9th grade, A Beautiful Mind, which that movie was not very accurate to the actual John Nash. His hallucinations were auditory. He did not have visual hallucinations. But when you think about it, this is how it was explained in health class. It was like it's all comes down to the chemical breakdown in your mind.
Mhm.
Because I think someone asked was like, well, how can they hear something that's not there? That doesn't make sense. But it's like,
Mhm.
it's all in your
It's
brain.
the
Your
wiring.
brain, yeah, like,
Mhm.
you know, it's all your brain makes you, it tells you how things feel and touch, and it can basically get mixed up and tell you something is there if it's not. So it makes a lot of sense how they portrayed Urgo, is like he's literally in their brain. So of course they can all see and hear him, and of course he can enhance their sensation. So I thought it was a very optimistic way of looking at like schizophrenia or something like that. But again, like we all know, that's not ever really how it works.
No.
It can like really mess with people's lives
Yeah.
on a profound level.
It's really unfortunate how much it does. Like there's still a massive stigma against it too, like even in healthcare, which is just really sad to see, because you know
Yeah.
these people are, the schizophrenic people are human beings, you know. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even with in A Beautiful Mind, like John Nash, that was, I forget like what decade it was in, but the medication they gave him to help like hindered him. He couldn't function as a human with the medication. So like he kind of had to make the choice of like, well, I guess I'm just gonna deal with my hallucinations. And this could all be like Hollywood. It could not be truly how it went out, but that's how it was portrayed in the movie.
Mhm.
So I think there's just not enough known about it. And the
Mhm.
medications they have probably still have a long way to go. We have one kitty that made an appearance, Tux.
Hi, Tuxie.
I can't believe Urgo the entire episode.
Oh, he just moved around. If you can see, they completely have dented that part of my couch from
Oh,
laying there all
gosh.
the time. And then
Yeah.
Luna is in the little cactus yurt at the
So
bottom.
cute.
Aw.
Yeah, no, sorry. Tux was biting my foot, so he was wanting attention. So here we are. Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
So
want to say hi? Oh, careful.
I love him.
He's
huge.
a big. He is a big.
Yeah.
You want to say hi? Look.
He's a big boy.
Oh
Real
my
big.
gosh. Look
He's
at
a
him.
biggie.
Oh.
He's like, why are you doing this?
Hi. I'm sorry. Hi. You cuddle right here. But yeah, what else you got?
That was it. That was Urgo. Very
Nice.
funny episode. One of my favorites. It's such a feel good. I put it on every time I want to laugh.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It's wonderful.
I like the discussion about sentience. I like that it's also kind of like about consent, where it's like, okay, cool, yeah, he's alive and all, but like we also matter in this, and we can't just be a vehicle for this thing and it ruin our lives.
Yeah.
So
One thing I love, just back to Dom DeLuise, is like when he plays Togar, he tries to tone his Dom DeLuise-ness down a little bit, but is
Yeah.
not successful in it at all.
No.
He's
Yeah.
very much still just like, okay, you're still just Dom DeLuise. Like,
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
it so much.
yeah.
So good.
So we never go back to that planet or ever hear from them again. We never get to share their technology. And again, like I kind of just realized in this current rewatch of like, wait a minute, do they even remember him being removed or remember Togar at all? Maybe they don't. And they just have to do the brain scan to figure out if he's still there or not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Love it. All right. Sarah, I feel like it's appropriately yours to close.
Okay, I gotta think. But also next week,
I'm aware.
I can't wait to hear your thoughts because next week we're doing Rebecca's one of her least favorite episodes, 100 Days.
We got this.
I can't wait for you to be mad.
I will close the iris for that one.
Yeah.
Promise. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh man, I gotta like ad lib something like Urgo. I got nothing. You want me to close the iris? I'll close the iris. I'll do it really fun too. I won't be boring like all of you guys. Boring. Okay.